Hey everyone, today I wanted to talk briefly about the question, the million-dollar question. Are you actually making your dog worse or are you making your dog better? Now, a lot of dog trainers would have you believe that you're the problem and the dog is just a direct reflection of your behaviors and what you do with your dog. So I think that there is definitely some validity in saying that, but I do also want to talk about some other ideas because I don't believe that that's always the case. Sometimes trainers will say something like, the dog's the easy part and, the person's the hard part. And that can definitely be the case. Sometimes when I'm working with clients, it's, the dog just cleans up really easily and we need to work on the owner a little bit more. But that's not always the case. And to be able to generalize to say that with every client and every dog, it's just not really all that fitting, to be honest. So there's a couple of situations that you might want to keep in mind where you might actually be making the situation worse if you're a dog owner. There could be situations that you're actually not helping your dog out. Like maybe you know certain things that you should be doing, but you're being inconsistent. Or maybe your dog is fearful of something like fireworks and you're patting him, consoling him, telling him, it's going to be okay, buddy. And he might actually be perceiving that as, oh, you want me to be stressed out. These are very fundamental things that a lot of people do with their dogs that actually are not good things and things that I try to steer my clients away from. Let's give you guys tools and techniques and an understanding through methodology and practical application on what to do when the fireworks happens or a thunderstorm, or your dog is stressed out because there's a dog coming close to him or something like that. So we do definitely need to work on those things. But I wanted to talk mainly today about the fact that oftentimes there's just things that are out of our control that affect our dog's behavior that we don't really have anything to do with. And so many dog trainers say things like, it's the dog's the easy part and the person's the hard part. And yeah, that can be the case, but sometimes we're dealing with really strong genetics. Has somebody done something incorrectly, given that they have, a Rottweiler that was bred to be a guarding dog, and the dog is starting to exhibit those things? I think that really, like I said before, we're just doing the best with the information that we have. And, sometimes we need a little bit of guidance within that. So really briefly, I was working with a client this last week and her dog reacted, aggressively towards another dog. Now, it was no big deal. The dog didn't, bite the other dog or anything silly like that. But, the dog reacted towards, one dog and then turned the other direction, reacted towards another dog defensively. And, afterwards I talked about it with the client. It wasn't a big deal, but she was quite stressed out about it, which, I fully, I would be quite stressed out about it if I was in her situation. Given that her dog had made significant progression in training, she felt that because her dog was still reacting towards other dogs at certain points, not nearly as much as before, but she felt that it was her problem. She was stressed out, she was anxious, and that was her kettle of fish to fry. And realistically, it's just not the case. I remember just telling her, some of that stuff you need to let go, because realistically, if I was holding the leash and I had done the exact same thing, your dog very likely would have done the exact same thing, or if your husband was holding the leash or whatever. I think there is a time and a place where a person will absolutely make the dog significantly worse. And I could take the dog's leash and the dog would be flawless with me without doing anything. And then there's times when I hand the leash over to somebody else and there's, some interpersonal relationship things there that need to be hashed out. But a lot of times we just throw guilt and things like that on ourselves that realistically are not going to help us move forward. Sometimes we need to just look at our dogs and say, our dog has this specific issue and maybe I caused that, maybe I didn't cause that. But there is no place in dog training and rehabilitation for guilt, because it doesn't help us move forward and it's just not going to be helpful to the dog. It's not going to be helpful to us. So I think if you sit down and you actually look at simple situations, a lot of times you'll probably find that if you have a dog you're having problems with, you might not actually be a part of that equation. Your dog might actually be aggressive towards other dogs when you're not there. Sometimes that type of thing just happens. And sometimes it is that you're actually causing it or making it worse. But I think a lot of times if you just sit down and you distill it down to its core, if we let go of the shame of it all and just beating ourselves up, I think a lot of times we're actually going to find that we're probably less of a component in that situation as we actually think that we are. And that's going to be really freeing. That's going to be really important for us to be able to say, okay, well, we got some movement to make here. We've got some work to do. But it's not because of me. Maybe my dog was born with really strong genetics. Maybe something happened to my dog and I wasn't even there, right? Some things are out of our control, and we need to be able to lose the guilt and move forward.